Greetings to everybody. So, in this session, I'd like to cover the strategy which I used for preparation of the written exam. I believe it has really helped me because I have given 6 CDSE written exam attempts, out of which I've cleared 4. So, the first 2 I did not clear, but the later 4 I cleared the written cutoff for Indian Military Academy and once for OTA as well. And I also gave the AFCAT exam 5 times, and I have cleared the AFCAT exam all 5 times. So I believe a few things which I might mention may help you all. So I'd just like to mention the strategy which I used. Now, talking about what do these tests comprise of, that is your individual homework. You all are supposed to know about the entire portion, the entire syllabus, which is covered in CDSE exam, AFCAT exam, right? Firstly, I would like to talk about the CDSE exam. It has 3 papers for those aspiring to join the IMA, AFA, or INA. For OTA, it is just 2 papers, English and GS. For the first 3 academies that I mentioned, it is candidates have to give maths as well. So for girls through CDSE exam, only OTA is open. For boys, all these 4 academies are open. So depending on which academy you aspire to join, you prepare for those subjects accordingly. CDSE so has these 3 tests for IMA, INA, and AFA. Now, how did I prepare for CDSE exam? For those who have ample amount of time before the NCRT exam, like 3 to 4 months or more, can resort to the NCRT books, history, geography, polity, economics, mathematics. All these books of NCRT are extremely helpful. Now, that is considering y'all have at least 3 to 4 months or more gap between now and the CDSE exam. So, because covering the NCRT portion takes an ample amount of time. But if you would be studying like me, I was somebody who always studied last minute, say around 1 month before the CDSE exam. So fortunately, I am also of a CBSE background. So I did have a little idea of the portion in NCRT, things that would be covered. So for someone like me who used to do last minute study, I would suggest resort to YouTube channels. There are so many YouTube channels. There are so many people who take efforts to find out the entire pattern, syllabus, most expected questions, most likely questions to be asked in say CDSE 2 2021. So they have such video series of lots of questions. This is for all the subjects, maths, English, general studies. So mostly now talking about how I used to prepare for general studies for CDSE exam. I used to use these books called as Lucent's General Knowledge and Lucent's General Science book. So these covered many details of all the subjects. So I used to read these books and take important notes from them. And for general studies and general ability tests, I used to also, like I mentioned, YouTube channels. I used to watch all these series, most expected questions, most likely questions to be asked. So basically, what the YouTube channels do is they analyze the previous year's question papers. Based on that, they understand a certain pattern, a certain syllabus which has always been covered, say sports, culture, academy, awards, authors of a few books, questions of these sorts. Now, in GS, this test, I used to also prioritize how I want to study. So I gave more importance to subjects like polity, geography, current affairs, and science. I gave less importance to history and economics because history and economics has a vast portion. At the same time, history questions are asked quite a few times. Economics question, only 2 to 3 questions are there, which I experienced. So I just focused on the first four subjects which I mentioned, trying to cover most of the portion. That's how I studied for the general studies and general ability. So while watching all these YouTube videos, I also used to take handwritten notes. So after taking all these notes, just before the exam, I used to read these notes as well, just to revise for sake. Yeah, I think that's all about general studies. Again, YouTube channel and these analysis of theirs really helps because they prioritize the subjects. They analyze the marks distribution, weightage given to each subject, and also while they explain every single question, I mean, they solve MCQ. So while they solve the MCQs, they also cover the few details and information around the given question. That really helps. So they give notes based on that also, and I think it is the best strategy to use. That अगर इतने मेहनत से वो कर रहे हैं हमारे लिए कर रहे हैं, so why not utilize it and study from the YouTube channel? Because I believe initial first two attempts where I did not clear the CDSE exam, it was only because of GS, and I used to use the big fat book of Pathfinder, and I used to try reading from all that, but it did not help me. So what helped me is YouTube channels. Then I resorted to YouTube channels and last minute study. That helped me. That helped me at least clear the individual cutoff. Now it is important to know here that in the CDSE written exam, every test has an individual cutoff, right? Say for OTA, only two tests are to be given, English and GS. So in English, if you scored 95 on 100, but in GS you scored 19 on 19 out of 100. So you will not clear the individual cutoff because the cutoff is usually 20%, usually 20% of the total marks. So 20 marks. It changes, so it is important to know. That is not actually a concern for anybody, but still, it is okay to be aware. Concern for everybody is to just prepare their best, give their best. So that's what I'm saying. Even if you clear score 95 in English, but 19 on 19 in the GS out of 100, you won't clear the cutoff, the individual cutoff. So first you need to clear the individual cutoff, and then they see if you've cleared the academy, respective academy's cutoff. Yeah, and that's all about the general studies. And now coming to maths. Maths. Yeah, I'll first talk about English. How I prepared for English. Being from a CBSE background, I was fortunate that I was aware of a lot of things in English. Uh, had been in practice of speaking English, of writing in English, lot of practice. So for those who find a little difficulty while preparing for English, I think again the best way to prepare is to practice, make use of the YouTube channels again. So there are a lot of these channels who also cover what is covered in English tests: synonyms, antonyms, idioms and phrases, passive voice, active voice, direct, indirect, and such kinds of questions, or comprehensions, or grammatical mistakes, find out, or something like that. So all these kinds of questions are asked. So even I was not well versed with these topics later in stage after I left my school. I did not know what passive, active, direct, indirect, what the difference between these all these voices is. I had forgotten all these things. So again, I resorted to YouTube, and on YouTube, I saw explanations of all these. I saw them solving all such few questions, and then I got a clear idea. Similarly, antonyms and synonyms and idioms and phrases. The channels they cover a lot of these. So based on previous year's question papers analysis, ये पूछे थे और इस basis पे ये आ सकते हैं. So I used to study those as well, and they really helped me. It's very important that I believe English and maths has always been very scoring for me. So I used to prepare really hard for these tests. English and maths, these two subjects, the best way to prepare for them is practice, daily practice. Both these subjects, any language actually, but just in this case, English and mathematics, I think practice really helps. Practice is the only thing that will help. Again, you can take notes of English, make your separate notes, passive, active, ये क्या होता है, कैसे होता है, examples, idioms, phrases, synonyms, antonyms के अलग 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 एक chart बना के रख सकते हो. And after you make all these notes just before the exam, even if you just go through these notes, strike हो जाएगा कि okay ये पढ़ा था कहीं पे, इसका आंसर ये है. Also English में कभी कभी spellings वगैरह भी पूछे जाता है. So if one is aware of, one is well versed with vocab, it always helps. I personally never used any book for English. I just resorted to the YouTube channels, but if anybody feels, can always refer to the books as well. Now, coming to the only reason why I cleared cutoff for IMA 4 times, the mathematics. Maths has always been my favorite subject since school, and I am also a maths graduate. So, preparing for maths has always been fun for me. How did I prepare for maths? So, I had this book named as CDSE Pathfinder. So, the first thing I did is I went through the entire portion in the Pathfinder and took my personal notes from it. And later, self notes. I self notes from all the chapters. So after making notes, then I never used that book again. So I only then later I like I said, maths and English practice is the only thing that is important. Now all these tests, CDSE, AFCAT, whatever exams, all the CAPF, these exams are extremely competitive exams. So I think for the competitive exams, the best strategy to prepare or if for any exam is to practice solving the previous year's question papers. That really helps. And also solving the practice papers or sample papers or something like that, right? That really helps because say for example in the maths, the portion covered is approximately the same every time. The only thing they do is they just change the digits here and there, but the portion cover is the syllabus covered is almost the same. So if you solve the previous year's question papers, then you realize ki, okay, ye kinds of questions I'm not able to solve, and then you study accordingly and then you know how to solve it. Similarly, there are a lot of miscellaneous questions asked in the CDSE maths test. So when you figure all these out by solving the previous year's question papers, then you get an idea ki, okay, ye questions hai, isko solve kaise karna hai. That's how you start preparing. That's how you search on YouTube. Even for maths, I resorted to YouTube. अगर बहुत difficult कुछ question है, tricky कुछ question है. So by YouTube, using YouTube channels, I got to know a few tricks, how to solve these, how to go about solving these in quicker ways, faster ways, in shortcuts. So yeah, that's how I prepared for mathematics test. And I used to practice maths every day. English and maths, I used to practice every day. So even though my maths is my favorite subject or whatever, I'm a graduate in mathematics, it does not matter. All that matters is have you practiced and are you well versed with the notes which you made. Revision is utmost important because without revision it's very difficult to give these tests. So YouTube channels, what they do is, like I mentioned, they analyze the entire pattern of all the kinds of questions asked, especially in English, maths. So the pattern is the same, only the digits change, the words change. That's all that changes. Even for the previous year's question papers of the GS, even if one solves those, one gets an idea कि okay, current affairs में ऐसे ऐसे question पूछे जाते हैं. हिस्ट्री में ये टॉपिक्स के मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री, इंडियन हिस्ट्री, इसके बारे में ज्यादा पूछे जाते हैं. पॉलिटी में certain chapters are covered. Fundamental rights पे fundamental duties ज्यादा cover है. So all these things. Geography mein most of the portion that is covered is so and so. So previous year's question papers always help. Anybody who is preparing for the competitive exams, I would suggest the best strategy to do so is the strategy which worked for me is what I'm calling the best because it worked for me, would be solving the previous year's question papers and sample papers. And it is not that you just keep solving these papers, keep solving these papers. After every paper which you solve, initially solve it in the time limit, whatever time is given, even in the tests. Give yourself the time limit, 2 hours, whatever it is, and then after the time limit, so you get used to the pressure कि okay इतने ही टाइम में इतने सारे क्वेश्चंस करने हैं, so you get used to that habit. I would also suggest that जो भी टाइम स्लॉट है सर्टेन एग्जाम के लिए, जैसे इंग्लिश पहले होता है, देन जीएस होता है, देन मैथ्स होता है, उसी टाइम स्लॉट में प्रैक्टिस अगर करते हैं तो उसका बेनिफिट हो जाता है थोड़ा, you get used to it. So because all those who are giving maths, by the end it is in the evening. So by that time we are a little drained, little tired and all, right? So when we get used to this exhaustion every day, if we practice all these things, on the final day it becomes a little easy and we adapt to the timings. So that really helped me. So I believe it will help you all as well. Also now talking about what the AFCAT exam comprises of. So I used to study for AFCAT from this book, Arihant's AFCAT book, so blue colored book. So in that they used to cover all the things, basics of general studies, so and mathematics, English, and the general ability test. So it is called the military aptitude test as well. So it's basically AFCAT exam is comprised of these 4 portions. So there's also marks distribution that around 32 questions of the general ability test, military aptitude test are asked, 18 questions of maths are asked, around 25 questions of English are asked, and 25 questions of the general study. So that's how FCAT test is comprised of 100 questions, of total 300 marks. So now talking about the cutoff, right? Cutoff usually ranges from 153 to now 165. The cutoff has always been increasing since the attempts I have been given, all the 5 attempts. The cutoff has always increased, especially for everybody. This is the case that merit could be an issue, both for boys and girls. Especially it is more for girls due to a lesser number of seats. There are high chances of getting merit out. Also, those applying for the administration branch, ground duty branch, through the FCAT exam, scoring good in written exam is utmost important, because I am aware of people who have scored 200 in FCAT exam out of 300, but still have got merit out. So that happens. So our responsibility and duty is to study as much as we can, give our best, and try to score as high as possible, because merit can cause an issue. Merit could be an issue. So after studying so much, if you were getting merit out, it's very sad. So can study accordingly. So for FCAT, I gave a lot of importance to the general ability military aptitude test, because 32 questions of that are asked. So like I mentioned, I studied from the Arihant's FCAT book. It was really helpful. So it covers the entire portion. Also, 18 questions of mathematics in FCAT written. So these 18 questions are usually of the same pattern, of the same portion of syllabus. So when you analyze the previous year's question papers, so you see that there's this pattern, and every time only the digits change, right? So that's how I prepared for maths, made myself notes and started solving these questions. Got a basic idea first, and then found out how to solve these questions. For general science and all that, current affairs, again, all I did was read through that book only. So that book really helped me. And then comes the English, same thing. Just brush up the English basics, antonyms, synonyms, idioms, phrases, etc. Again from the same book. So I had also prepared my self notes, like I mentioned, for English, synonyms, antonyms, idioms, phrases, mathematics. All these kinds of questions are asked. So how to go about solving all these questions. So last minute study helped me because of these self-made notes. So that's all. That's how I prepared for English and mathematics and general studies as well, and military aptitude test as well. So basically, in general, for AFCAT exam. One more thing those who are giving AFCAT exam can do is on the AFCAT website. So there are 4 sample question papers which the committee has kept. 4 sample papers and 4 solutions. So I did practice all those because only through those question papers I got an idea. So AFCAT, you won't get the previous year's question papers because it's an online test. It's a computerized test. So you will definitely get a lot of similar kinds of questions which are asked or the portion covered, an idea. But you won't get the exact question paper anywhere. So there are these 4 question papers. You can download those. Also download the solution to these questions. Solve all these and then check the solutions. And yeah, solve it again. Even for these tests, solve it time based. So that will help. So yeah, my suggestion would be, यार YouTube पे इतने मेहनत कर रहे हैं सारे channels, they're getting such good stuff online. For me, watching, listening has been the best source to study. Videos, basically watching and listening, that has been the best way. Reading has not really helped me. So I would suggest always resort to YouTube channels and start early. No matter how much time you have, start early. Like I said, if you have 3-4 months or more, you can resort to NCERT books. That will help. If not, resort to last minute studies like YouTube channels and previous year's question papers and all that. So I think that's it. If doubts, if any, about the written exam, can ask, especially only about the English and mathematics, because I'm not the best person to ask about the general studies and general ability test, because I just usually cleared the individual cutoff just by a few marks. So if the cutoff was 20, I scored about 24, 25 or something like that. I was not very fond of preparing for the general studies and general ability, but I had to because I had to clear the individual cutoff. So I did, but I did not score a lot. So I'm not the best source for general studies and general ability. Doubts, if any, in mathematics or English, you all can just put in the comment box. Thank you.